at you, see you, and communicate with you. Last time
Likewise.
was, I think, a long time ago in California.
It was. And I'm honored to be part of your
Oh,
Well
it's my
Within
privilege.
retreat.
It's my
Um,
privilege.
the Well Within retreat is going to be the 29th through the 31st, just outside of LA. And I thought it'd be fun just to visit with you a little bit today about what your self-care routines are. What is part of your daily regime?
So actually, Joel, I'm in a very interesting stage of my life. I'm going to be 75 this year, in a month. Actually, when we do the retreat, I probably will have um, had my 75th birthday. So the tradition I come from, first 25 years is all about education. The second 25 years is all about success, fame, fortune. Third 25 years is about giving back. Now I'm entering the fourth ashram, as it's called. It's about self realization. So, right now, my daily routine is I don't usually start work activity, or any activity till about 11 a.m. I usually wake up between 5:30 and 6. So my first thing is I do about 2 hours of yoga, and then another hour or so of self-reflection and meditation. And then I start 11. I do whatever I'm supposed to do, which is activities like this, or helping people, suicide prevention. We have a big campaign going on, and mental wellness, another big campaign going on for that. And then I stop working at 5. I walk about 10,000 steps, and that's easy for me in New York. And then at night, I actually, these days, I reflect on my life, and I also do a meditation on the meaning of death. So that's my daily routine, but it's very enjoyable.
That sounds very enjoyable. So this is a routine that you implemented. When did you start doing this particular routine?
This particular routine got amplified at the beginning of the pandemic because I had all the time. And I also started to think more about the nature of what is fundamental reality, because it's always fascinated to me, is reality what we look at, or as some philosophers have said, East and West, Wittgenstein said, our life is a dream. We are asleep. Once in a while, we wake up enough to know that we're dreaming. And, I kind of took that literally in my work, but not as an experience. But now it's obvious. If I asked you what happened to your childhood, you'd say it's a dream. If I asked you what happened to your teenage years, it's a dream. But what happened to yesterday, it's a dream. What happened to this morning, it's a dream. What happens to these words by the time you hear them, it's a dream. They don't exist. By the time you hear these words or even register that you're speaking to Deepak, the Deepak you're speaking to doesn't exist anymore, because it's a constantly changing phenomenon of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So I've written about this, but then, in the beginning of this pandemic, I said, not good enough. I have to live this. And then if I have to live this, we have to figure out who's the dreamer, or what is the dreamer. And you go back to great spiritual traditions, say that, there's a fundamental consciousness without which there's no experience. And so harnessing that power of consciousness allows you to upgrade the dream. So that's what I've been doing since the pandemic, upgrading the illusion.
I love that. I've been doing a lot of work during the pandemic as well in a tradition I've been being taught called the West of the Wheel, where it's introspection, death, rebirth, and then wisdom.
Right.
And I think the pandemic has caused all of us to reflect and go within. And I love that when we're in relationship, we're being asked to evolve, whether it's relationship with our children or a friend or nature. And I think nature during the epidemic was asking us to evolve quickly and rapidly. And that can be done in an unencumbered way or a painful way. And so in the West of the Wheel, the unencumbered way, the less painful way to do it would be introspection, death, rebirth, Then when you act on that, you have wisdom. But the more painful way is suppression, fear, disempowerment, and doubt. And that's sort of the opposite of each of those stones in the west of the wheel. And that was one of the things I was going to be talking about at your wellness retreat, so that we can all do this a good death, as it were, because we're always dying all the time, not physically. But we're having to let go of not only every moment, but we're having to let go how we might have envisioned things or fantasies of how we hoped they would be. And at the same time, realizing the power is in that moment to dream the dream anew. In the traditions I've been being trained in, dreaming is an active state. It's not a passive thing that happens at night. Nighttime is for sleeping. Daytime is for dreaming, for consciously, actively creating and dreaming your life into being. So I love that you're into this concept.
Well, you mentioned some very important points, because what we're experiencing right now is a lucid dream in a vivid now, and knowing that we're doing it through our preconceived notions of reality, which we then project as the world, including our own body, which is being born and dying every second. There's no resurrection without death. And so, words like virgin birth and resurrection take on a new meaning when you understand that life is the continuum of birth and death, and the opposite of death is birth, not life. Life includes birth and death on an ongoing basis, eternally, in what we call now. And you also mentioned the pandemic as a time to resurrect. But, one of the things we saw in the pandemic is that nature was healing ourselves as we returned to our cages. Birds were singing in Hyderabad, fish were returning to dead lakes in Venice. You could see the Himalayas from 500 miles away. And it was obvious that biological sustainability depends on our sustainability as well. That the climate change and all is because we are unsustainable and living unsustainable lives. And the pandemic said, yeah, humans, when you come back from your cages, come back with a little more hubris and a little less hubris and a little more humility. So this gave us an opportunity, both you and me, to reinvent our bodies, resurrect our souls, and now we can share that with everyone at the Well Within retreat. I was thinking, with all the guided meditations, the yoga, the movement, the breath work, singing, kirtan, sound bowl healings, the self-care of Abhyanga and Ayurveda, immersive energy healing, recapitulating our lives, and musical healing performances, including yours. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I love the idea of well within, because the dream begins within. Actively creating your life as consciously as you can starts within. And that the most radical form of activism can be living well from the inside out, and not living your life from the outside in. And not letting, I always call it, don't let a good tragedy go to waste. So don't let a tragedy like the pandemic go to waste. Learn everything you can so that you can create change. And you can act on that change to hopefully make not only our lives, but the lives of the planet better. I look forward to seeing you in person. I'm excited this is an in-person event. I know it'll be very safe. And for anybody watching, please definitely come join. It's October 29th through 31st in California, and you can get details, I think probably in the link scrolling below or something.
I'm very grateful that you're coming to this. Your life is an example of how to use adversity and come up with some creative expression out of that adversity. And I've always believed that stress is the worst use of imagination, and creativity, and particularly your kind of creativity, is the best use of our imagination. And it all begins, as you said, from within.
I have a saying of worry is a misuse of creativity. So it sounds very similar to what you're saying.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we'll see everyone. Oceanfront Terranea Resort in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. And I look forward to being with you. Thanks.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Bye.